In a world gleaming with supposed perfection, your very future is written in your blood before you're even born. Welcome to the gene-segregated society, where DNA isn't just a part of you, it's everything you are. From the moment of conception, every human is sequenced, sorted, and stamped with a label, perfect or flawed. Imagine a city of polished chrome and holographic ads, all promising an even better tomorrow, a more refined humanity. In this city, the Valids walk the upper levels. Their genomes are flawless, curated over generations to produce the strongest, smartest, and most beautiful individuals. They attend the best academies, land the most prestigious jobs, and live lives of effortless success. Their world is one of light, privilege, and a quiet, unshakable belief in their own superiority. But below, in the shadows of their gleaming towers, live the invalids. These are the people born with genetic defects, a predisposition to a common illness, a slightly lower IQ, projection, even something as simple as neopsych. They are the genetic lottery's losers. Their schools are underfunded, their job prospects are limited to manual labor, and they are constantly monitored. Their every move tracked by a system that sees them as liabilities. The message is clear: you are a mistake. Our story begins with Ilara, a young girl born into this lower world. Her label: invalid. Her crime: a rare genetic marker for a heart condition that might never even develop. From her first day of school, she was made to feel less than. While the valid children learned advanced sciences and arts, Ilara and her peers were taught compliance and basic mechanics. Friendships were difficult. Even other invalids were wary of those with worse genetic scores. The system wasn't just about separating valids from invalids. It was designed to make the invalids police themselves, to internalize their own supposed inferiority. But Ilara was different. Where others saw a flaw, she found a strange kind of strength. The constant stress, the need to be invisible to the ever-present genetic monitors, sharpened her senses. She became a master of observation, noticing details the complacent valids missed. She could read a person's intentions, not from their polished words, but from the subtle tells in their posture, the flicker of their eyes. Her supposed imperfection had forced her to develop a different kind of intelligence, one that the system had no way to measure or control. She learned to navigate the sprawling undercity, a maze of forgotten tunnels and repurposed service shafts. Here, away from the prying eyes of the gene scanners, a different kind of society was forming. A black market thrived, not for goods, but for information. Hackers, known as code weavers, could temporarily mask a person's genetic signature, allowing them a precious few hours of freedom in the upper levels. Ilara became fascinated by them, learning their methods, understanding how they could bend the very code that defined their world. One day, while evading a routine patrol, she stumbles upon a hidden data cache. It contains fragmented files, encrypted research from the architects of the genetic system itself. As she and a grizzled old code weaver named Kale work to decrypt the data, a terrifying picture begins to emerge. The very concept of perfection was a lie. The founders of their society hadn't just been eliminating diseases. They had been systematically removing traits they deemed undesirable: empathy, impulsiveness, artistic creativity, and the capacity for dissent. They weren't building a better humanity. They were building a more compliant one. The truth is even more sinister. The genetic flaws they'd been suppressing weren't random. Many of them were linked to these very traits. Ilara's heart condition. It was linked to a heightened capacity for emotional response, for love, for loyalty, for righteous anger. The system wasn't just judging them. It was trying to erase the very things that made them human. The valids, in their sterile perfection, were the ones who were truly incomplete. They were a carefully cultivated crop, stripped of the wild, unpredictable beauty of the human spirit. This knowledge changes everything. Ilara realizes her journey is no longer just about survival. It's about rebellion. She and Kale start to share the decrypted files, spreading the truth through the Undercity's hidden networks. The message is simple: your flaws are not your weakness. They are your weapons. They are your humanity. The idea spreads like wildfire. The invalids, who had been taught to despise their own DNA, begin to see themselves differently. The boy with a marker for anxiety discovers he has an unparalleled ability to anticipate threats. The woman with a predisposition for distraction finds she can multitask and process information faster than any valid. In the shadows, imperfection becomes a badge of honor. Resistance starts to bubble. It's not a violent uprising with weapons, but a revolution of the spirit. It's acts of art appearing on public walls, music with unauthorized rhythms echoing in the tunnels, and small, coordinated disruptions that the system, in its rigid logic, cannot predict. Ilara becomes a symbol of this new movement. She's not a general or a politician. She's a whisper of defiance, a reminder that a string of code cannot capture a soul. She orchestrates glitches into system, redirecting resources, exposing the hypocrisy of valid leaders, and creating safe havens for those hunted by the monitors. Her greatest weapon is her understanding of people, her empathy, which allows her to unite a fractured and fearful population. The authorities, led by a cold, calculating geneticist who sees Ilara as a dangerous anomaly, escalate their efforts to capture her. The city becomes a chessboard, a high-stakes game between rigid, logical control and fluid, unpredictable humanity. They can predict genetic outcomes, but they cannot predict a choice. They cannot predict a sacrifice. They cannot predict a hope that burns brightest in the darkest of places. The story of Ilara is a question to us all. What does it truly mean to be perfect? Is it the absence of flaws, or the strength we find in overcoming them? The system was built on the belief that humanity could be perfected, that it could be controlled by reducing it to a sequence of code. But they forgot one crucial thing. Life, in all its messy, beautiful, and imperfect glory, always finds a way. In the fight for freedom, the most powerful code is not written in our DNA, but in our hearts. What do you think? Is a society based on genetic perfection a future we should strive for, or a nightmare we should fight to prevent? The year is 2242. They told us the world outside was dead, a ghost, a memory of green we could only see in simulations. For generations, this is all we've known: concrete, steel, and recycled air. Our domes, these great shimmering bubbles, were built to be our salvation, sanctuaries against the world we had broken. Forests turned to ash, rivers to sludge, and the sky, a perpetual, mournful gray. We were safe, but we were also prisoners, suffocating in the very cities designed to protect us. We traded the horizon for a ceiling, the scent of rain for the hum of filtration units. We survived, but did we truly live? My name is Dr. Aries Thorne. I was a xenobotanist, a ridiculous title in a world with no real botany left to study. My job was to analyze nutrient pastes and optimize algae growth in bioreactors. It was a stable life, a predictable life, but every night I dreamt of trees. I dreamt of soil between my fingers, of a sun that wasn't a pale disk filtered through layers of polymer. These weren't just dreams, they were My grandfather, one of the last who remembered the before times, used to tell me stories. Stories of endless forests, of oceans so vast they met the sky. He'd point to the gray, opaque dome above and say, "Out there, Aries, something always survives. Life is stubborn." Most people dismissed him as a sentimental old man, lost in nostalgia. The consortium, the corporate government that runs our dome, certainly did. Their official narrative was clear. The planet is a toxic wasteland. The air is unbreathable. The soil sterile. Any attempt to venture out is a death sentence. To question this was to question our very survival, to be branded a dissenter, a threat to the fragile stability we clung to. But my grandfather's words had planted a seed in my mind, a seed of doubt that grew more persistent with each passing day. I began my research in secret, late nights in the archives, sifting through pre-cataclysm data streams. Satellite imagery from the final years, I found anomalies, tiny discrepancies in the official reports. Faint, intermittent energy signatures from regions deemed completely barren, spectrographic readings that showed trace elements not consistent with a dead world. There were whispers, digital ghosts, but they were enough. The consortium's patrol drones were formidable, but their patrol routes were predictable. I spent a year mapping them, finding a blind spot, a narrow window of opportunity. I repurposed a decommissioned maintenance drone, stripping it of non-essential functions and loading it with sensors of my own design. It was a huge risk. If I was caught, I wouldn't just lose my job. I'd be re-educated, my mind wiped clean of any rebellious thoughts. I launched the drone during a scheduled dome-wide systems reboot. For 3 agonizing hours, I had no contact. I sat in my small apartment, the silence pressing in on me, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I pictured the drone being shot down, or simply failing, its precious data lost to the waste. Then, a single ping. A connection was established. The data started to trickle in. At first, it was exactly what the consortium had always shown us. Desolate plains, rust-colored dust, the skeletal remains of ancient cities. My hope began to wither. Maybe the old stories were just that, stories. And then, I saw it. Tucked away in a deep, shielded canyon, protected by sheer rock walls that had deflected the worst of the acid rains and solar flares. A flicker of green, not the artificial green of our hydroponic labs, but a deep, vibrant, impossible green. The drone's camera zoomed in. It wasn't just a patch of moss. It was a forest, a small, self-contained ecosystem, thriving against all odds. Trees, ferns, a stream of what looked like actual, flowing water. My hands trembled as I stared at the screen. My grandfather was right. Life was stubborn. Getting there was the next impossibility. The canyon was hundreds of kilometers from my dome, across treacherous, uncharted territory. I couldn't go alone. Brumetta, needed help. I cautiously approached a few trusted colleagues. People I knew harbored their own quiet doubts. There was Lena, a brilliant engineer who could make a reactor out of scrap parts, and Jian, a former security officer who had been demoted for asking too many questions. I showed them the data. I saw the same shock, the same dawning hope in their eyes that I had felt. Together, we began to plan. We pooled our resources, trading favors on the black market for scavenged parts. We spent months building a vehicle in a forgotten sublevel of the dome, a reinforced rover designed to withstand the harsh environment. We called it the Seed. Our escape was chaos. An anonymous tip must have alerted the consortium. Alarms blared as we breached the perimeter. Laser fire scorched the hull of our rover. It was a frantic, desperate flight into the unknown, leaving behind the only world we had ever known for a dream of a world we had only seen on a screen. The wasteland was even worse than we had imagined. The air outside our sealed vehicle was thick with toxins. The landscape was a monotonous panorama of ruin. We drove through the skeletons of cities, past dried-up riverbeds that were now just cracks in the earth. The sky never changed from its oppressive gunmetal gray. Doubts gnawed at us. Were we chasing a phantom? Had we sacrificed everything for a digital illusion? After 3 weeks of travel, with our energy cells running dangerously low, we found the canyon. From the rim, it looked like a wound in the earth, but as we descended, the world transformed. The gray gave way to green. The air, filtered through the rover systems, began to register a change. Lower toxicity, higher oxygen. When we finally reached the canyon floor and opened the hatch, the first breath of real air was a revelation. It was cool and damp, smelling of wet earth, of chlorophyll, of life. We stood there, tears streaming down our faces, breathing it in like a long-denied elixir. The garden, as we came to call it, was a miracle, a complex, interconnected web of life. Strange, bioluminescent fungi provided a soft glow in the absence of direct sunlight. The trees had adapted, their leaves a darker shade of green, to capture every last photon of light. The water in the stream was pure, filtered by layers of rock and roots. We found insects we'd only ever seen in textbooks and small, furry creatures that scurried in the undergrowth. This wasn't just survival, it was evolution. Life had found a way. Our joy was short-lived. We knew the consortium would not give up. They didn't want this sanctuary for humanity. They wanted it for themselves, to exploit its resources, to patent its unique genetic material, to control the very essence of hope. They saw life not as a gift, but as a commodity. We soon found their drones scouting the canyon rim. A confrontation was inevitable, but we were no longer just scientists and engineers. We were guardians. We had something to fight for that was more real than the artificial stability of the domes. We used our knowledge to our advantage. Lena repurposed our Rover-S systems to create a low-frequency pulse that interfered with the drone's navigation. Gian, using his knowledge of their tactics, set up a series of clever traps and decoys. I studied the unique flora, discovering plants that could jam communication signals and spores that could corrode metal. We fought a silent, guerrilla war, not with weapons, but with ingenuity and a deep understanding of the life we were protecting. We were fighting for the future, not just our future, but the planet's. One day, while exploring a deeper cave system connected to the garden, we found something that changed everything. Pre-cataclysm murals, painted on the walls by people who had taken refuge there centuries ago. They depicted the garden, but they also showed a network of other such places, hidden sanctuaries scattered across the globe, connected by underground aqua. It wasn't just one garden. It was a network, a secret planetary seed bank. The Earth hadn't died. It had gone dormant, protecting its most precious treasures, waiting for the right time to reawaken. The consortium now knows we're here. They are massing their forces for a full-scale assault. They want to crush this symbol of hope before its existence can spread and inspire rebellion in the domes. But they're too late. We managed to send one message out, a single, encrypted data burst containing everything we've found: the location of the garden, the murals, the promise of a world reborn. We don't know if it reached anyone, but we have to believe it did. We have to believe that out there, in the suffocating steel cities, others are listening, dreaming of trees. Justo as primera did. Our battle is far from over. It is just beginning. But for the first time in a century, humanity has a choice: to remain in our gilded cages, or to step out into the wastelands and help the world heal. The garden has taught us that even in the face of absolute devastation, life persists. It is resilient, it is adaptable, and it is beautiful. And that hope, that is uber miraculous hope, is a seed, and we will protect it with our lives. Imagine a world where your every move is watched, judged, and scored. A world where every word you speak, every purchase you make, even the friends you keep, contributes to a single, all-important number: your social score. This isn't just a rating, it's your life. It determines your job, your home, your social stand in your very existence. In the gleaming, orderly society of the unified state, a high score means a life of privilege and ease. A low score means you become invisible, a ghost in the system, erased from the world you once knew. One wrong step, one unpopular opinion, one slip up, and your life as you know it can simply vanish. This is the world. Elara knows. She's a model citizen, a textbook example of conformity and success. Her score is a testament to her dedication, always smiling, always agreeable, always following the rules. She's on the fast track to a prestigious position, a life of comfort guaranteed. But perfection is a fragile thing. One morning, she wakes up to a nightmare. Her score, once a source of pride, has plummeted overnight. No explanation, no warning. Justa number, falling like a stone, dragging her life down with it. Panic sets in. She retraces her steps, analyzes every interaction, every digital footprint. Did she say something wrong? Did she associate with the wrong person? The system is designed to be transparent, a clear reflection of your actions. But her drop makes no sense. It's a glitch, a mistake. Or is it something else entirely? Her friends, once warm and welcoming, now look at her with suspicion. Their own scores are at risk just by being near her. Doors that were once wide open are now slammed shut. The city that once felt like a promise now feels like a cage. Its countless cameras, no longer a symbol of safety, but of surveillance and judgment. Elara is pushed to the margins of society, a place she only ever read about in cautionary tales. Here, among the undesirables, she finds a different kind of existence. People with low scores aren't just outcasts. They're fighters, survivors who have learned to live outside the system's suffocating embrace. They see the cracks in the perfect facade, the truth hidden behind the polished numbers. It's in this underground world that Alara learns the social score system isn't the objective. Benevolent guide it claims to be. It's a tool of control, wielded by a shadowy elite to maintain power. The scores can be manipulated, altered to silence dissenters, and eliminate threats. Her mysterious downfall wasn't random, it was deliberate. Someone wanted her gone. With nothing left to lose, Alara starts digging. Her investigation takes her deep into the digital underbelly of the unified state. She follows a trail of encrypted messages and ghost data, navigating a labyrinth of firewalls and digital traps set by the system's architects. Every step is a gamble. The wardens, the system's ruthless enforcers, are everywhere. They don't use physical force. Their violence is silent, digital. They can wipe your bank account, erase your identity, or flag you as a threat, turning every citizen against you. The city becomes a chessboard, and Alara is a lone pawn trying to outmaneuver a king. She finds an unlikely ally in Kale, a former system developer who was cast out after discovering the truth. He's a digital phantom, living off the grid, his own identity a mosaic of stolen data and clever code. Kale shows her how the system was built not to measure worth, but to predict and control behavior. It reveals the Oracle algorithm, the central brain of the social score, and its greatest secret. It's not perfect. It has blind spots, loopholes, and a fundamental misunderstanding of human nature. The system is designed to reward predictability and conformity, but it can't account for courage, rebellion, or the unpredictable power of human connection. Together, they devise a plan. It's not about destroying the system, that would be impossible. It's about exposing it. They plan to hijack the central broadcast network during the annual Ascension ceremony, a live event where the highest-scoring citizens are celebrated. It's the ultimate display of the system's power, and they're going to turn it into a moment of truth. The days leading up to the ceremony are a blur of close calls and narrow escapes. Alara has to use her knowledge of the system, the very rules she once followed so perfectly, to bend them to her will. She learns to manipulate her score in small, untraceable ways, creating digital diversions to throw the wardens off her trail. She walks a tightrope between visibility and invisibility, using the system's own logic against it. She sees the fear in people's eyes, the quiet desperation to keep their scores high, and it fuels her resolve. This isn't just about clearing her name anymore. It's about freeing everyone from the tyranny of a number. The night of the Ascension ceremony arrives. The city is alight with holographic projections, celebrating the chosen few. Alara and Gale initiate their hack. As the Supreme Leader begins his speech, his face flickers and is replaced by Alara's. Her voice, once programmed for pleasantries, now rings with defiance. She doesn't just speak, she shows them. She projects the hidden data, the proof of manipulation, the records of lives ruined for political gain. She reveals how the scores of the elite are artificially inflated, while those who question the status quo are systematically crushed. For a moment, the city is frozen in stunned silence. The feed is cut, but it's too late. The seed of doubt has been planted. People look at each other, then at their own score displays. A new understanding dawning in their eyes. The illusion of a fair and just system is shattered. The wardens scramble to contain the fallout, but the truth is a virus they can't contain. Small acts of defiance begin to ripple through the city. A waiter gives a low-score patron a free meal. A musician plays a forbidden song of rebellion in the plaza. People start talking, really talking, for the first time in years. Alara and Kale escape into the city's hidden networks, becoming legends whispered among the growing resistance. Alara's score is now 0, the lowest possible, but she's never felt more valuable. She's no longer a number. She's a symbol. She proved that a system built on surveillance and control is ultimately brittle. It can measure actions, but it can't measure heart. It can punish dissent, but it can't extinguish the human spirit's desire for freedom and truth. Her journey showed that the true measure of a person isn't a score assigned by an algorithm, but the courage to defy it. And in a world obsessed with ranking humanity, the most powerful act is to choose to be unquantifiable. In today's world, have you ever felt like someone's always watching? Every click, every purchase, every step you take, it's all being logged somewhere. Your name, your address, your habits, even your deepest secrets are all just data points, packaged and sold to the highest bidder. We live under the constant gaze of systems that know us better than we know ourselves. Our lives are an open book, and we're not the ones holding the pen. But what if you could close that book? What if you could tear out the pages, burn the binding, and disappear? This is the story of one man who did just that. He found a crack in the system, a loophole in the digital prison, and slipped through. He didn't just go off the grid, he erased himself from it. He became a ghost in the machine, a shadow that no algorithm could track. In this newfound anonymity, he started to see the world for what it truly was. Stripped of his digital identity, he walked through the city like a phantom, observing the hidden currents flowing beneath the surface. He saw the deals made in darkened alleys, the whispers of corruption in high-rise offices, the silent suffering of people crushed by the very systems that claimed to serve them. He saw the things we're not meant to see, the truths buried under mountains of data. Moving like a ghost, he learned a profound lesson. Our identity is not just a collection of data points. It's not our online profiles, our credit scores, or our purchase histories. True identity is something deeper, something that can't be recorded, quantified, or sold. It's the choices we make when no one is watching, the connections we forge in the real world, the very essence of our being that exists beyond the screen. As he delved deeper into this shadow world, he discovered that freedom isn't what he thought it was. It wasn't just about being unseen. It was about the power that comes with it. The power to expose, to intervene, to fight back against the faceless systems that control everything. He began to use his invisibility not just to hide, but to act. He would subtly alter data streams, redirecting resources from corrupt corporations to struggling communities. A small change here, a deleted file there, he became a digital Robin Hood, a whisper of hope in a world of control. He helped a family facing eviction by losing their records in the bureaucratic maze. He exposed a politician's secret deal by anonymously leaking documents to an independent journalist. Each act was a small rebellion, a quiet assertion of human will against the cold logic of the machine. But this freedom was a double-edged sword. The more he acted, the more he risked. The systems he fought against were not just passive observers. They were intelligent, adaptive. They started to notice the anomalies, the statistical improbabilities, the ghost in their data. A hunt began, not for a person with a name and a face, but for an anomaly, a glitch that needed to be patched. He was living on a knife's edge. Every move had to be calculated, every trace covered. The thrill of his actions was matched only by the constant, knowing fear of being discovered. He was completely alone, unable to trust anyone, for any connection could be a digital breadcrumb leading back to him. He was a phantom, but even phantoms can be He saw the price others paid for even minor dissent. People who questioned the system, who tried to live even slightly outside its bounds, would find their lives quietly dismantled. Their credit would vanish, job opportunities would dry up, and social connections would be severed through manipulated online interactions. The system didn't need to use force. It could simply edit you out of a functional life. His existence became a paradox. To be truly free, he had to be completely isolated. To help others, he had to remain a stranger to them. He was a savior who could never be known, a hero who had to live in the dark. He wondered if he was truly making a difference, or just delaying the inevitable. Was he a symbol of resistance, or just a fleeting ghost story that the system would eventually forget? The city he once knew became a different landscape, a battleground of information. He saw the invisible walls that divided people, the curated realities They were fed through their personalized feeds. He saw how the system fostered division and anger, keeping people distracted and fighting amongst themselves while the real power remained hidden. Pulling the strings, in the shadows, he found more than just secrets and corruption. He also found incredible acts of kindness and resilience. He saw communities coming together offline, creating their own support networks, sharing resources and knowledge outside the prying eyes of the grid. He saw art being created not for likes or shares, but for the pure joy of expression. He saw love blooming in the cracks of the concrete, a testament to the enduring human spirit. These moments gave him hope. They reminded him what he was fighting for. It wasn't just about tearing down the old system. It was about protecting the space for something new to grow. He realized that true freedom wasn't about being invisible. It was about having the choice to be seen on your own terms. The story doesn't end with a grand victory or a tragic defeat. It ends with a choice. He found a way to create a new identity, a way to re-enter the world. He could become someone else, live a normal life, and leave the shadows behind forever. Or he could remain the ghost, the unseen guardian, continuing his silent war from the fringes, knowing he would always be alone, always hunted. What would you do? Would you choose the illusion of a safe, recorded life, or the dangerous, thrilling reality of true, untethered freedom? His story is a reflection of our own. We all live in the shadow of this digital world, and every day we make small choices that define our own relationship with it. His journey teaches us that even when it feels like we're just another number, our identity is our own to define. It's in our actions, our beliefs, and our connections to one another. Freedom isn't something that's given to us. It's something we must constantly claim, protect, and fight for. Even in the smallest of ways, the shadows are all around us, and what we choose to do in them matters more than ever. Thanks for watching. If this story made you think, hit that like button, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world we live in, and the worlds that might be. See you in the next one.